this will have been an interesting year or so to live through. I remember, many, many years ago, probably in the late 2000s, I was channeling my guides, the Z's, and they would talk about the transformation of humanity and how after we get beyond 2012, you're going to see various things, including people getting more emotional and more emotionally available. And I kind of, had a Pollyanna view of that, thinking, oh, that will be lovely. And of course, what we have seen is people are more emotional, I feel, than ever before, and more emotionally available to themselves and to each other. But we're in an early stage of that. Where there's a lot of healing that has to come with that release of suppression. And one thing that hit me around 2020 is I did an energy forecast for the year, and the very first topic that they came out with was health. And that was all. I mean, I couldn't have predicted what had happened but they talked about health would be a really big focus in 2020. And I remember it made me a little nervous at the time, but that was as far as I got with it. And then, of course, 3 or 4 months later, it's like, oh, okay. So I'm curious for you, going into 2020 and going across the year of 2020 that we've just come through and where we are now, what Theo gave you about this very transformational couple of years we've been in.
Well, this is a time that Theo's been talking about since the beginning of working with me. And that was what the book, The Fifth Dimension, was about, is all the transformation that we'd be having. And it's interesting that you did the 2020 forecast, because in November of 2019, we did a forecast for the upcoming year. And Theo said that 2020 would be the most profound year that any of us had ever experienced. And it would change the trajectory of all of our lives. And we had no reference point to what that might look like. We just said, okay.
Yeah.
And we knew, there was an election coming up. And I mean, you could have pinpointed all kinds of things that could pertain to. But they were speaking about this global pandemic. And years ago, they were talking about this global change, shift of consciousness that had never happened on this planet before. They've been talking about it for over 4 decades. So what I've seen this happening is this is what they were talking about. And so I did ask, we have asked about the pandemic. And they said, we told you there would be something that would show you that you're a global species and that there are no boundaries and that there is the shift of consciousness for the human species on the planet now that is in the highest good of all. All these changes are necessary. The old ways of being, the old paradigms, the old ways of thinking are dissolving. New will be formed out of this. New business, all across the board. But what they said is, we didn't tell you what it was going to be that would be so transformative. Of course, everybody would have panicked and, or not believed it, or whatever would have come from that information. But one of the things they said is that it's shown us that we are one. That the virus itself did not discriminate. It was an equal opportunity for our species to see the oneness and how quickly the energy of anything like that could spread the globe. And that will bring us all together. But they said, most interestingly, the governmental political structures would change throughout the world. We know we're a global economy, but that would be even strengthened more after this transitional period of time. But this would give us the information along with the ability of internet to connect with each other and to really learn about each other and to see we're more the same than we are different. So it's all part of this consciousness shift. And like I said earlier, I've had enough evidence in my life of things that I was told that would be happening to have confidence and optimism, even though we're in this chaos, to know we're going to be okay. Not only okay, we're going to thrive and we're going to be better and we're going to know more. And we'll, to your point about taking care of our health and each other, you know, it's an interesting time we're living in. But they said out of this chaos will come order, and it will be a higher order of consciousness. So, you know, I have an enormous amount of optimism going forward.